So, Chase, I'm going to skip around a little bit here, but can you just take me into what was the absolute hardest moment of this ride and what was going through your mind?
Yeah, so the hardest part for me was like 25 miles to 10 miles left in the ride. Um, my legs felt great all day. And even during that moment, I would say my legs still felt good, but I was getting pretty tired. It was dark. I was on like the, they like laid down some rock in some of these sections. So it wasn't like smooth gravel where I could just like be in the aero bars, but maybe that was a good thing because of how tired I was. So that was like the hardest physically. And then
How did you feel at that moment?
I knew I had the record at that moment. So I felt pretty good. Like as long as I didn't flat, I was like, even if I do drop a little bit of pace, I think I had like at least 10 minutes on TED. So I was like, I can't lose. It would be really hard to lose 10 minutes over an hour. So I was like pretty pumped, and like I was starting to get texts at that time, probably like every 5 to 10 minutes. I would see a text on my Garmin like, "You're close, like you got this, keep going." So yeah, I felt like I just like felt sleepy, tired, but everything was still functioning at that time. Oh, I guess my gut started to like not want to take anything in. I didn't puke or anything, but I don't know if it was my gut wanted more food, so it started to hurt, or because like I don't like lemon lime Gatorade. Like if I go to a store, I want the blue stuff. Like every store where I live, it's blue Powerade. Every gas station on this ride only had lemon lime Gatorade, and I'm like, this is not good. So I guess little backtrack. They told me like I was way quicker at gas station stops than Ted, and that's because I would just like walk in, head straight to the fountain drink, fill up my bottles with Gatorade, and then I would find the Pop Tarts, and whatever I was craving at that moment, I would like grab the Pop Tart flavor because it's a pretty it fits in a pocket super nicely. Pop Tarts are dirt cheap in the grocery store, but at gas stations in the middle of nowhere, it's like $2 a pack. So I think I spent like $20 or $30 on Pop Tarts.
Wow. And where was your head at during the ride? Like emotionally, what was going on? And what do you think about when you're riding that hard for 300 miles?
Ah, man, it went from like everywhere. I mean, like the most emotional point for me was at mile like 680 maybe. I was like biking through where all these. So I guess context. I did this FKT ride because there was fires in the Stillwater, Oklahoma area, and which canceled Mid South, and then to I wanted to do the mega anyways, um, but because of the fires, and then I wanted to like give it more meaning. So I raised funds for people who, you know, had their houses burned down or just were affected by the fires. So yeah, I'm out 80. That was like the hardest emotionally because I was biking through right by houses that just got burned down. And like I can't imagine what that would be like, especially like a lot of those people have probably living at those farmhouses for years and years and years. And the fires just they went up and like they blew through quickly, so they didn't have time to pack everything. And then other times I'm like thinking of like my wife and the baby coming. Other times I'm thinking about how silly I look with all of my aero gear. Um, I'm thinking about like, will I get this record? Am I pacing it right? Just like, you know, like the athlete side of me, and I didn't know if my legs were gonna blow up. I like kind of wanted to start out at an easy pace, and I'm like, hopefully I don't blow up. And I never did. I actually finished really strong. But yeah, my mind just went everywhere. I only listened to podcasts for the first 2 hours. I listened to Bonk Bros and then Pro Try News. And then I was like listening to music or just nothing, which usually I'm always listening to a podcast. But this one, yeah, was a little different.
Yeah. And I want to talk about what happened between the race being officially canceled and then you deciding to do the FKT. Before we do that, though, if we could just jump back 3 weeks before you went on this trip, how many weeks pregnant was your wife at that point?
Uh, Probably 34. Yeah.
30. Okay. Your wife's 34 weeks pregnant. And this is what you do for a living. So you walk out the door, you get in your van. What were you hoping to get out of this trip?
So I like planned my whole season around these 3 weeks, honestly. Like I wanted to come out strong, and like if I overtrained, it would probably show in April, which I don't think I did. But so I wanted to get the best results I could before the baby came. So looking back at it, I I feel like I accomplished my goal. Like I'm really happy with Belgian Waffle Ride Arizona. I'm really happy with Valley of Tears. And then going into Mid South, I wasn't the favorite or anything. And like, if the race played out 100 times, I think I could have won at least one of those times. So I do think there was scenarios where I could have like won Mid South, and it would have been cool. But um, there's more important things than bike racing.
And after what happened at Valley of Tears, which we talked about on our other recording, so we don't need to get into that right now. But after that race was called mid race, then you get to Mid South. Obviously, a tragedy, terrible, first and foremost, as you mentioned, for the people in this community who have encountered real and unanticipated suffering. And it's going to take a long time for the community to recover from this. For you as a professional athlete who relies on going to these events, both to get a result, prize money, to generate content around the events, how are you feeling just as an athlete and in relation to your career when you learned that the event was canceled?
I was bummed, like because the other two races I did earlier, they had technical like features which don't suit me. But Mid South is like flat, rolly. They don't ban aero bars. That's a huge advantage to me. So there was the announcement at like 7 p.m. Friday, as it was still smoky, like fires still going on, houses still evacuated. The plan was to still have the race. And I was like, I'm going to race probably no matter what, unless the AQI is like absolutely horrible, because like I really wanted to get a result at this race. And like mentally, I was like, I don't really care if I'm off the bike for like a while recovering from like smoking lungs, because I can like hang out with my baby then. So it honestly was like an excuse, but probably not like the smartest idea, honestly. But I really just, yeah, I wanted a result. So I was bummed.
Yeah, so the event gets canceled, and I was thinking about you. I was thinking about all the athletes there. I was specifically thinking about you, Chase Wark, the people's champion, as I think you'll be known from now on after this piece comes out, the junkyard dog of pro gravel cycling. And then the next thing I know, you're on Instagram and you're talking about how you're going for the Mid South Mega FKT. So what happens between the race getting canceled, you making the decision to do this? I'd like to hear about that. And then I know a bit about doing these events, not an event that takes 16 hours and 38 minutes to complete, or maybe it was more than that.
58.
Yeah, sorry, 16 hours and 58 minutes, pardon me. But I know there are a lot of logistics that go into being able to do something like that and a lot of planning. So this all unfolds super rapidly. The next thing I know, you're taking off from downtown Stillwater. So can you kind of walk me through, number one, how did you make this decision? Number two, who helped enable this? And then logistically, how did you pull this off? It just seems wild that you were able to do this.
Yeah, so I would say it started probably on I've always wanted to do like an FKT and one that like suits me and that seems like it could be competitive at some point. So like there's like FKTs out there where I feel like I could probably go get them. I wanted something like that I think will be established as a good route in the future. Um so on Monday I like brought it up to Abigail, my wife, and I was like, "Hey, like I want to do the race on Saturday, and then Sunday I want to wake up and try to go after this FKT just for like to get more media, honestly." And then, you know, she was like, "Yeah, like if you want to go ahead." So that was set on like Monday or Tuesday, and then on Friday we sat at this brewery for probably 8 hours, like everyone just hanging out at the brewery as there's fires going on just a few miles away. And I thought race is gonna get canceled. I brought it up to Jason, the director of Gravel Worlds in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like I was asking around for most of the week if anyone was going to be around Sunday to if they could get media pictures for me. But then once the race was canceled, everyone headed out, and I was gonna do it. I was thinking of doing it Saturday, but I like woke up and was super tired, and like I woke up at 2:30 to use the bathroom Saturday morning and just realized the race was canceled. So slept in Saturday, and then my mind kind of just pondered it Saturday, like should I just head home, go see Abigail? You know, she's now 73 or 37 and a half weeks pregnant. Geez, 73 would be.
You're on the bike a long time.
Yeah.
It's okay if you can't do math today.
And
Yeah.
then so I like pondered that. I was with my friend Simon from Norway and Tim Savory, and we're just like hanging out. And I'm like still not solidified. And like then fundraisers started coming out, and then I was thinking like maybe I do it like as a fundraiser. And then I told Tim, I'm like, is $10,000 like a crazy goal to like try to raise that much? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'll try to raise it anyways. Like if I miss it, oh well, like I still will try to raise it. And I wasn't 100% at that point. And then I saw the Mid-South Instagram post with Ted King and that he was going to do it. And then at that moment, I'm like, okay, well, I have to do it. Like the competitive side of me was like, I wanted a race. So, and like we weren't starting at the same time. So, yeah, I saw that post. I told Tim, hey, we need to go up to the brewery, find Bobby. I'm going to tell him my plan. At that point, it was still just going to be like me. I didn't know if there's going to be media following Ted or not. And like Bobby has 100 people wanting to talk to him at these events. So hung out probably for an hour waiting for my opportunity. And then I got that and then told him, and I was like, okay, let's go. Then me and Tim walked over to the start line to make my video announcement. And then we did the video, posted that like as quick as I could. If you look, it's like, it's just, usually I do everything like through an editor and try to make it nice. This was like, I'm just going to use what's on Instagram, get it out there as quick as possible, because it was like 8 or 9 p.m. at this time. So I wanted to start building up a little bit of hype. And then we went home and I like had to still get my bike together. So I got that done at midnight, woke up at 4 or 3:30 because Tim had to fly out. So luckily my mechanic, Zach, who came down just by himself to like ride in the event, he brought Tim to the airport. And then get to the start line at like 6 o'clock to watch Ted go off, and then went back to my bike. Still didn't have it like completely set up, so I like grab a trash bag of stuff that needs to get on the bike, bring it to the start line, and like luckily like Bobby and them helped me, and then I left at 7 a.m. on the dot, and then yeah, ride started from there.
Do you have any words with Ted before he took off?
No, because he looked pretty in the zone, and I like didn't want to delay them any longer. Like honestly, like, Ted and I have shared like 10 words in person with each other over this. I'm hoping like him and I can do a podcast at some point. I'm hoping JP brought up wanting to have Ted and me on. So hopefully that can happen. Because like even though Ted and I have shared very few words, at least for me, I feel like there is definitely like a connection because we both had the same mission of trying to raise funds for everyone affected by the fires.
So then you're there on the starting line. You've got a trash bag full of stuff. What's in the trash bag, man?
Lights, my clothes that I didn't know if I was going to wear or not, my bike pump, my tools, because I needed to adjust my handle aero bars. So I didn't even ride the aero bars beforehand. Actually, I rode them Saturday and I knew they weren't angled right. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to guess at the angle, and like it was good enough. I think it could have been down like 3 degrees. But then we needed to get a light on. So I'm sponsored by Exposure Lights now, or the dam is. But their lights are like really well built, but they're a little more bulky. So it like, and I have a really short stem. So with the aero bars, I had to have it under the handlebars, but then it wouldn't fit because it was touching my head tube. So then I had to use like a cheap Bontrager light, and then, but I still brought the exposure light because that Bontrager light I knew would probably die on me. I also had a headlamp thing, so I had 3 different lights with me. And actually, during the ride, the Bontrager one, I knew it was probably gonna go out. So like, I stopped for 5 minutes, took the tape out, and just like taped this light to my stem. And I'm like, man, it's just going to be bouncing the rest of the time, but oh well, like it's going to last me the rest. And I wanted it brighter so I could ride in my aero bars, because at night we're going really fast downhill. So I was like, I need a better light. The like 3 minutes this is going to take is well worth it. So put that on. Light was not an issue. I don't know how, but like the light was just solid. It was like it was on a mount. It never bounced. It never moved. It was like perfectly centered. So I'm probably going to do a bike review video because it still has all the sweat, maybe bloods in some place. I know my kit has some blood, but yeah. So that's what was in my bag, and yeah, just like emergency supplies that I probably should have set up earlier, but I didn't. So yeah.
Of all of the races and rides that you've done, where does this rank on scale of difficulty for you?
There was never a moment I wanted to quit. Physically, this was super demanding and challenging, but I think having like a meaning behind the ride, and also like there technically being a race going on just made it easier to stay out there. So like a difficulty point from like mentally, not super hard honestly, because like I've wanted to quit on bound after I know I'm not going to get a good result. When I did a 480-mile ride, I wanted to quit because I was like falling asleep on the bike. I wish I could say it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I know people aren't like not everyone's religious, but like I just feel like God like just gave me strength to like mentally and physically yesterday. Like I averaged 200 watts or 198 watts, which I think is insane.
How many watts per kilogram is that for you?
Like close to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For 17 hours. Like 200 watts is what I do my like Swift rides at. So
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't like I was like, oh, let's do 180 because that would be easier. I just 200 felt easy all day. So I mean, if I from an outside view, it's the most difficult ride I've ever done, just with like how hard I pushed myself, but like how it felt during the day, it was fun. Honestly, like I don't know, I love riding my bike. I don't love Pop Tarts anymore, but it was top 10 hardest rides ever. I would say that. I don't want to like discredit how difficult it was.
Was for people out there who are conversant in our special cycling code talk, was your training stress score around like what, 800, 850 for this?
I haven't looked.
Okay.
I can pull that up quickly. It was only 600 TSS.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah.
Sickled.
I
That's a huge TSS. It's for anybody who doesn't know what that means. That's a massive ride, bigger than most people will do in their entire life.
Yeah. 0.6 IF.
Okay.
Normalized power of 213. I burned 11,800 kilojoules.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Chase Wark, congratulations. You are the people's champion, the junkyard dog of pro gravel racing. What's next?
Get home, meal prep, and do taxes with my wife.
Love it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I don't know. Nothing's next race is just a local race for me, and then Sea Otter, which I don't know. I just the baby is the biggest thing coming next, which I'm super excited for that. I joked with Bobby last night that I may have to name my kid Bobby now, and that did cross my mind several times during the ride. So
you could name your child Andrew. That'd be good as well.
Andrew
I'm the
Wark.
wind. I'm the wind beneath your wings.
Yeah.
All right, Chase. Thanks for making time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.